The funny thing about the way that my and Niza's relationship started was one of my really good friends, Kimberly, was co-leading a team with her to South Asia. We were talking about relationships and the fact that most of us were single, and Kimberly's like, I know the perfect girl for you. And I was like, okay, who? And she said, Niza. And I was like, huh.
I remember back to the first time I started talking to Bernard about gals, and we're at JCPenney, and he wouldn't mention who he was going out on a date with. At that point, I knew this just wasn't any gal. Like, I knew this was someone that he was really interested in.
And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Kimberly knows me well. I was like, if Kimberly sees something there, then maybe there's something there.
It's fun to see the dynamic when we're hanging around and he says something clever and it's like zing, and she's just, what? Kind of like that. That happens a lot.
I was trying to figure out a way to get to know Niza without being a creeper. I gave her my number and I was like, hey, Niza, I saw some of your work and I'm really interested in photography and I'd love for you to just like show me the ropes. She was like, sure. And she never called me. One of the things that I learned in my pursuit of Niza is that she doesn't get subtlety, but she also doesn't get it when you're overt. I was like basically putting it completely out there that I was interested in her, and she was just oblivious to it all.
When Niza and Bernard had actually just first started dating, she started singing Sia, Chandelier. And if you know Niza, she will not hold back and she will sing her heart out. And right after she sang that song, I'm like, what's that? And she goes, oh, you don't know that song? It's Sia, a Chandelier. It's Bernard's favorite song. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's in love with him.
The first time I asked Niza out, I wanted to get to know her and I had some questions I wanted to ask and she would be willing to hang out, and she said yeah. It was really, really encouraging, but it was easy. We weren't even in the conversation for 5 minutes and we were already talking about what we felt like God's call in our lives were, and I was just in awe by the fact that she was no nonsense.
These guys are so accepting, so receiving of other people.
Yeah.
And they make people feel at home.
Their home is always going to be a haven for people to come into and feel accepted and loved, I feel, because it is now.
Like, I really see a godly relationship. You know, that's such a beautiful thing to have.
Me and Niza's relationship, right after we had our first date, we went out of the country, and it forced our relationship to be second to the Lord, and it forced us to lay down a foundation of prayer.
But just how him and Niza connect and the things that they do and their trajectory and what they want to do for the kingdom is why I support them.
They always have this cheerfulness that they bring with them wherever they go. So it's impossible not to laugh when you see them both together.
And the truth is, I've never seen him happier than he is now. When Bernard had nothing and Niza still loved him, not because of anything he had, but because of Bernard. And I support that. I support how much they complement each other, and I can't wait to see their relationship just flourish.
I was broken and really scared and emotional, and when Niza and I first started dating, I was at one of the lowest points, spiritually and emotionally, that I've ever been. And she saw me and she saw a man that she loved and wanted to serve me. She wanted to be there with me. She wanted to walk through that with me. It floored me.
Niza and Bernard's relationship encouraged me in just the amount of prayer that we would give to each other as sisters, helping her to wait and to encourage her to wait. That's also encouraging to me.
Bernard has been my brother and here we go. And my best friend, and has been there through many ups and downs. It's very rare that you would happily relinquish your best friend to someone. I love Niza as a sister, and so I don't look at it as losing a best friend, but gaining a sister and a new best friend. So I love
It became blatant that I don't want to walk the rest of my life with anybody but her. So, the reason that I brought you guys to dinner is because as I've grown to know Niza and as we've grown closer in our relationship, the Lord has made it very clear to me that she's the woman that I want to be my wife. The Lord has shown me in her the qualities that I desire to have in a wife, someone that is loyal and someone that is talented and God-fearing and beautiful, and Niza's all those things. I've seen how she's made my life better, and I've seen how she has pointed me to Christ time and time again, and she's reminded me to always be thankful. I love her, and she's met my mom and my family, and they love her too. Just like when I asked you a year and a half ago, I told you that my desire for our relationship is found in John 15, where Christ tells us to abide in him as he abides in the Father. And that is something that I want to continue with Niza. I want for us to continue to abide in the Lord, but to do that together. And I want to do that in marriage. And so I have brought you guys here today to ask your blessing and to ask your permission to ask Niza to be my wife.
Because we love Niza, so that Niza loves you, so we love you too. We like you to become our son-in-law.
I happy because Niza, my pray, always Niza still get a husband. Now Jesus is the first. Terima kasih Tuhan untuk Indonesia dan harus supaya Tuhan tolong berikan mereka masa depan yang baik.
So I just asked Niza's parents' permission to ask her to be my wife, and it went well. I was really nervous, to say the least, but what really surprised me was her dad. He is a brilliant man. He's just not very vocal with how he feels. And the fact that when he was praying for me after giving me permission, like he cried, like you could just see the wheels turning, and the fact that he was thinking about the fact that he's about to give his daughter to someone else. I think that that's something that Niza knowing will cherish. And I think for her it'll be comforting knowing that her dad loves her that much. And for me, it's comforting but also a challenge because I want to love her even more. I'm just excited that they want me to be a part of their family and that I got their blessing. And so now it's time to ask her. I remember when I was house sitting in Moreno Valley and I was hurting and broken, and I walked you out to your car and I'd been crying and frustrated, and you were distracted as usual. But you told me to look up. You said, look up. And I looked up and you said, look at the stars. God's in control. And so listen to this. Here we are under the stars. Here we are under the stars. Heaven is not so far. Heaven is not so far. Heaven is not so far under the stars. I found a love to hold my hands through the cold. I found an angel lying out in my storm. And we have a light to lead us all the way home. And wherever we go, we will know. So here we are under the stars. Here we are under the stars. Heaven is not so far. Heaven is not so far. Heaven is not so far under the stars. Yeah. Ooh. Under the stars. Niza, I love you. And the past year and a half has been dynamic, and it's changed me and grown me and stretched me. And you've reminded me of who I'm supposed to be as a man of God, and you've always pointed me back to Christ, but you've encouraged me and you loved me in ways that I never thought that I could be loved. And you are definitely an extension of God's grace in my life. And because of that, Niza, will you marry me?
Yes.
So just to clarify, that was a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see your finger, babe.
Oh my gosh.
There's one more thing. You know, the first time that I realized that I loved you, do you remember? Oh, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I know the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleasing, that I'm never alone. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.